Happy Sunday, everybody. I didn't realize I was doing a live stream today, but I'm so happy to be here. You'll notice that I don't have my Apple Watch on today because you guys have been pinging me with questions all day, and we're going to get to some of those answers by the end of this live stream. I have Indian food coming at around 5:30, 5:40, so we're going to be moving this along, but I did want to share a couple of updates. It's been a really big week, and I am so glad to have Jeremy Saland with us to talk about that week and anything else that he noted that he wants to share today. And so we always make space for Jeremy, who's been a regular on this live stream throughout the NC-17 campaign. For those I haven't met, I'm Kevin. I'm a husband, father of three, Bedford resident, lifelong Democrat, state healthcare policy expert, good government advocate. And on this Sunday, after a week of, like many of you, as I understand it, having colds, I'm just tired, man. But we're gonna power through and have cover a lot of ground today. A reminder, now that we're back in regular order, the purpose of this series is to engage New Yorkers living in northern Westchester, Rockland County, Putnam County, and southern Dutchess County, NC and New York 17 in the political process, equipping our community with information about the issues impacting our families, households, and businesses to help us identify the best person to represent our interests in 2026. We do this from the bottom up here by introducing the candidates. For those who haven't been online today, you'll see a little bit more and a different twist on introducing the candidates, and I'll talk about that at the very end of our program today. But we're also here to discuss issues and foster community. Fostering community is not always easy because, we have a lot of smart, passionate people in our big Democratic tent with lots of ideas of what our problems are and how to solve them, but we'll never be able to come to alignment across those issues, determine where we can compromise, determine where it's okay for us to disagree, unless we have honest, candid, respectful conversation. So that's what this is about. And I want to start out with actually talking about what is a week full of hope, at least when we're thinking about our way back and how we get there. On Tuesday, as NPR reported, everyone reported, there was a significant shift in voter turnout across this country and across key states and within key races across this country. In Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat, wins the governor's race by, what do we have, 15 points or so. It was, but at least by the media's reporting, it started to turn into a little bit of a horse race at the end. But at the end of the day, when the votes were tallied, I think it was almost every, if not every county in Virginia trended more blue than in a normal year. And I also want to call out through this, like who these folks are. And we're going to be hearing a lot more about them over the course of the coming years. Now, Governor-elect Spanberger, she's a former intelligence officer who is now elected governor-elect. She's been a member of the Democratic Party, serving from 2019 to 2025 as a U.S. representative for Virginia's 7th congressional district. That's a little bit south of like Northeast Virginia, in an area that's highly affected by the federal cuts. I want to also note that according to an NBC News exit poll, the economy proved to be a top concern among Virginia voters. Nearly half of voters in Virginia said it was the most important issue facing the state. And of those voters who said the economy was the most important issue, 59% supported Spanberger, while only 39% supported her opponent. And then we come a little bit further north to now Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill, a former naval officer, a former federal prosecutor, now governor-elect of New Jersey, having gone up against Republican Jack Ciattarelli for I think this is his third run. God bless him. She has served as a U.S. representative for the New Jersey's 11th congressional district since 2019. Jack Ciattarelli is, again, like this is his third go round. Governor-elect Cheryl won the day by promising and running on a platform of affordability. She has promised on day one to freeze utility rate hikes. Other priorities include protecting the state's children, improving education, addressing what she described as the mental health crisis among kids, vowing to make the state government more efficient and accountable to taxpayers. And then finally, of course, we are going to talk about New York City. Zohran Mamdani won the day after a heated primary, and then we actually had a general election in New York City. It's been a minute, and he's both a member of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Socialists of America. He has served as a member of the New York State Assembly for the 36th District since 2021. Representing the Queens neighborhood of Astoria, where my brother lived for a long time. It's a wonderful, beautiful, great area for food and for raising families. He, of course, campaigned on a platform of affordability as well, a common theme which we'll come back to, in support of fare free city buses, universal public childcare, city-owned grocery stores, a rent freeze or rent stabilized units, adding additional affordable housing units and a $30 minimum wage. He's campaigned on public safety reform and, of course, increasing taxes on corporations and those earning above $1 million annually. So I know by even mentioning our mayor-elect Mamdani, I'm going to get hate mail. We just announced a live stream today, and I'm already getting hate mail because people are so passionate and defensive. And I want to just take a minute to share a word from just a guy about Mayor-elect Mamdani. Everyone watching this live stream has a Mamdani take, because it's easy, and the concepts that he's advocating for are accessible. From this seat, just as a guy who is aiming to convene us, I see him speaking to the concerns that people have after they get home from a long day and open their mail and try not to think about before they fall asleep. He seemed to joyfully disregard the status quo, from politics to interest to policies to our very capitalist system, making the status quo and the systems that govern us every day as the issue. And I'll come back to that. And again, I know that some of you are going to kind of poke me with a stick here, and I've never been great at parties, so you'll forgive me. But he followed a playbook not dissimilar from that of President Trump in his ability to galvanize and bring a new coalition together. In my view, Mr. Mamdani tapped into a broader disenchantment among residents of a city that has shaped many of their lives. And when presented with the candidates and the portfolio of their policies and profiles, New Yorkers selected their mayor. Now, after meeting hundreds of you across the district in Rockland and Putnam and Westchester, sorry, Duchess, I haven't gotten up there yet, I think I can state without too much hate that Mr. Mamdani's policies and profiles might not carry the day in our district. Disagree with me in the comments. That's free country still. Despite what you have and will continue to see online by Mr. Lawler as he desperately tries to divide our party. And this is just one ad that he's putting out there in an effort to divide us and really make this a faux issue, which we need to be concerned about in NY17. But it is important, I think, for us to understand and what we learn from the experience in New York City. A couple of the learnings that I'm taking away and thinking about right now: people are hungry for solutions on issues of housing affordability, childcare affordability, healthcare affordability, climate change, education, quality improvement, public safety, and behavioral health crisis services. Do those issues sound familiar? Because for me, that's the bedrock of our policy portfolio and platform, in New York 17. And folks, even from New Jersey, are looking for immediate change. And in the case of New York City, are even willing to entertain broader systemic changes. People believe our systems of government and economics and industry are broken. And I'm not sure I can fully disagree with them. As the federal government enters its 40th day of a shutdown, careening from shutdown negotiation to debt ceiling negotiation, and these do or die negotiations about how we run our government and fund our government. According to a new Oxfam report this week released, the wealthiest 0.1% in the US own 12.6% of assets, 24% of the stock market. Nearly a quarter of the stock market is owned by 0.1% of our country. The bottom half, just for reference, of our country owns 1.1% of the stock market. Over 40% of our population, including nearly 50% of children, are now considered poor or low income. And our representatives, including Mr. Lawler, who we sent to Congress, recently passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which will reduce the tax bill on the highest earning 0.1% by an estimated $311,000 in 2027, while our lowest income households, the ones who have the least, making less than $15,000 annually, are expected to face a tax increase, essentially by losing services and supports that were previously available to them. All while the costs at our grocery stores and for baseline goods keep rising faster than our incomes. Can you blame folks for wanting solutions? Do I, Kevin, think socialism is the answer? Having worked in government, now having the privilege of working for governments, I don't think so. I'm willing for the debate. I think our governments are best designed to identify and address market failures through policy change and creating efficient and competitive markets. Because markets are failing. Our system is failing. And I think we can all hopefully agree on that. I've rarely seen efficient, effective, sustainable, and innovation-spurring outcomes from a government permanently owning the means of production. But maybe I'm old school. I'm not that old. But we can't end on that. We had big wins locally, all across the Hudson Valley and New York. Big wins and flips in Westchester. Ken Jenkins, again, congratulations. Mount Pleasant, Lewisboro, Mount Kisco. And I'm going to leave people out, and I'm sorry. We saw strong momentum in Rockland and Putnam counties. Dutchess won a legislative majority for only the second time since 1977. Now that does predate me, not too many years. And those aren't the only New York gains. The Orange County legislature, 8 of the 10 largest upstate New York cities. And another reason Mr. Lawler can smile, in addition to Representative Stefanik's ill-executed campaign launch, is it's not looking great for her eventual gubernatorial run. But for all the Republicans, I'll leave on this last note before I introduce our guest. But for all of the New York Republicans, politicians who lost their seats this week, I want to share something that's a little bit cheeky and something that's completely genuine. First off, thank you for serving. Public service is a great commitment. You don't make salaries are not always the best to attract our best and brightest, but people make the sacrifice because they do want to help their constituents. Honestly, I've seen it. You've seen it. Thank you for serving. And now for the cheeky part. When the question is asked whether the party could have done anything differently in NY17, remember that Mike Lawler was campaigning for the New Jersey governor. A lot. And with that, I am so pleased to be able to welcome back to the program Jeremy Saland. Jeremy started his career in New York City's criminal justice system, serving as an assistant district attorney in the trial division of Robert Morgenthau's Manhattan District Attorney's Office before starting his own practice. As the founding member of Saland Law, Jeremy is a criminal defense attorney, a Title IX advisor representing students and faculty, a family court Article 8 order protection lawyer, and counsel to both adults and children facing sextortion. After serving as new Castle Town Prosecutor for 6 years, Jeremy was elected as council member in 2015. He presently serves as Deputy Supervisor and served as at Newcastle's acting supervisor during the height of the COVID pandemic. He's appeared on over, I'm going to guess like 1,000. Like I had 600 here. Like he's on the news a lot. Whether it's CNN and NBC or Fox or NY1, to share his experience on national and perspective on national legal matters. He's lived in Newcastle since 2006 when he and his wife raised their 3 sons. And I know this is a point of personal pride and one that I admire him and his father for. He is the son of former Republican State Senator Steve Saland, a legislator who bucked his party to cast the deciding vote for marriage equality in New York State, a vote for which I continue to be very grateful, like many of you. Jeremy, it's nice to see you again.
You as well?
So what do you think about the national landscape in Tuesday and the week at large?
Let's not start at home. You can start in Mississippi, and you can see that supermajority was kicked by the win of, I believe it was two Democratic seats that were captured and taken. And then you can look at Georgia as well, where there was public commission seats that were won by Democrats as well. And then just to our north, you look at Dutchess County, which is certainly not a hotbed for Democrats, although it's slowly been changing, where, as you pointed out, we went from the minority to the majority. So all of this points in the right direction, and we shouldn't ignore the fact that you had 2 gubernatorial candidates that won solidly, despite pushback from I'll use it, the MAGA Republicans that really made it look at some point like a real race. So I don't see how you do not conclude this was a huge win all around, and demonstrating that when you work together, you will get results and you'll get to where you need to be. And hopefully that means very soon, not just in Congress, which is key for this area, but also obviously the White House.
Yes, we have to win back this seat in order to win back the House. And so I do want to talk about Mayor-elect Mamdani, who I know that you're angling for a seat on the transition team, right?
Yeah, that's me. He called me up. I told him I was busy. I had some other prior commitments. I posted to a slight variation of what I shared on my unofficial personal town board page, as well as my personal page. But the substance of it was, I used the term that he was a cancer to the Democratic Party going forward in terms of our local elections in purple and swing districts. And I want to address that term because I know that term upset some people, despite the fact that there was countless Democrats. Well, countless is a big term. Many Democrats, unaffiliated voters, people who reached out to me, and both in terms of my private posting or personal posting and my town board posting. There is nothing more valuable than using provocative words to get people engaged who might otherwise not. And I would not expect that most people would recall, but Terrence Murphy, who many would recall, was our state senator, which overlaps a lot in New York 17 out of Yorktown, a piece of Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester, much like New York 17. And at one point, we were building a playground, an inclusive playground, a basketball court, among other things, in our back parking lot. And Terrence Murphy was able to secure a grant for us for $225,000. And at the time, I had said that we should not take that money. We should not take that money because of his position with the NRA, his position on firearms, and his position with the gun lobby and gun laws. And the response from both sides of the aisle, or the electorate, being Democratic or Republican, saying that's ludicrous. Why would you say that? Why would you do that? And the reason why I did that, we ultimately did take that money, is because by making those statements, it forced a conversation internally within our town board. It forced a conversation by the Examiner News, taking news of it and sharing my opinion and addressing it. And Terrence Murphy having to respond to it and pointing out that this man was wrong for us because in this particular stance, he was wrong on guns. Now, did that mean that's why Peter Harcum won ultimately? No, not necessarily. But all of you pointing to the issues that are important are critical. And I think if you don't discuss the issue of Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists now, you are going to run the risk of dealing with it later when Lawler is going to capitalize it and brand every single Democrat, just like they will do, and they did try to do to Jenkins. And there was these signs. I don't know if you saw them. It was Jenkins equals Mandami or something to that effect.
Yeah, it's
To
third tier communications. Yeah.
whomever it was. But
Mhm.
the point was clear. They're trying to use that, they meaning MAGA and the Republicans, to hurt us.
Mhm.
And we need to get behind the right candidate, no matter what district it is, and put that to bed. So I am more than grateful that I ruffled feathers. I am more than grateful that people were upset. I am more than grateful that people said, I think what you're saying is fabulous. What disappointed me the most were the people who called me a racist piece of shit, that I was a bigot. There's someone in my community who shared the post and said, basically, I was hiding behind my white supremacy and Judaism. I mean, the magnitude of the anger from some very far on the left was really palpable and disgusting.
Mhm.
But fortunately, that is the few, because you can still
Mhm.
have an educated conversation. And the message ultimately was, if you read my post, which
Mhm.
you probably did,
Mhm.
was that if you have unity and if you have compromise, and that ain't a
Mhm.
bad word. In fact,
Yeah.
it's a good word. If you have unity and compromise, you can touch Democrats, you can touch Republicans, you can touch unaffiliated, you can bring people home to do the right thing, and you can seize what should be the people's house, which is the Democrats' house in New York.
Yeah.
And as we know from Mississippi and Georgia and Dutchess County and beyond Westchester.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a family debate that we're having here, and passions are going to get high, but hopefully we can all to continue to maintain respect and have that argument with the ultimate goal of unifying and winning next year. That is our common North
Absolutely.
Star. So
Absolutely. Unequivocally.
so NY17. Last time we were here, Jeremy, you said by early October, I am going to make a decision about whether I am going to get into this race and run and win. Are you getting into the race for Congress?
So I am getting into the race not as a candidate. I cannot get into the race as a candidate because, as I said before, if I can't do it 100%, I cannot do so. And I have two college age boys. I have my own law firm, which I've shared to you before. At its peak was 4 attorneys. Now I am a solo, figuring out those next steps. I've had extensive conversations with folks to try to make that happen in terms of my law firm. But really, I am the breadwinner in making that law firm tick. And unfortunately, there is a reality of living anywhere, but certainly in Westchester County, that I can't just walk away from that. But when I say I'm involved and I'm not stepping away, I certainly have, I think all the candidates are terrific. I think that any one of them is worth consideration. But to me, there's one person that stands, heads and tails above the rest, and heads and shoulders, pardon me, who's just a fabulous candidate, and I am comfortable and confident that we can get that seat.
Who is that? I mean, I have that. Who is
I
the
was waiting for the
candidate,
question.
Jeremy? Who is the candidate that you're endorsing?
So, I've got to know Beth Davidson, and I think, let me state that differently. I am confident and I know that she has the chops, the stamina, the strength, the brains, the experience, to get the job done locally and in Congress. And when I got to learn more about her, and just recently, I think she secured about $2 million, or in fact, $2 million in response to what is really an exigent circumstance for people who are dealing with no SNAP, because our president deemed it worthy to go to court to fight to give people the bare minimum of what they need. I look at somebody who is a Democrat, and Rockland is certainly not as a Democratic stronghold as Westchester County is, and is able to work across the literal or proverbial aisle with a county executive who's Republican. I look at someone who's strong on guns, and what I mean by that is she passed local legislation that was to put notice in relation to firearms and their danger. This is somebody who, when I've heard speak, she speaks with sincerity and passion, but she also has knowledge and she also has experience, and you cannot minimize the value of that. So I think, again, you can't go wrong with anyone here. And the message, despite my views of Mandami and what I have said, as Democrats, we have to rally around one candidate eventually. We have a lot of good choices. We're very, very fortunate. But there's good choices, and then there's really a terrific and absolutely favorable one for the residents of New York 17.
Well, that's a big get for Beth. Jeremy, I'm sorry you're not going to be joining the fray. My wife is
Well,
not
don't
sorry.
stick a fork in me yet. Don't stick a fork in me yet. I'm 51 years young. Who knows what
Yeah.
tomorrow brings? But it's not about me. It never was about me.
Mhm.
Whomever it is, let's get him over the finish line. And my view, and wholeheartedly so, is that Beth is that person.
Excellent. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on, for talking about the election, for talking about the issues that are important to NY17, for emphasizing the fact that regardless of our internal differences, we need to make sure at the end of the day we're united and getting back the seat and taking back the House. And it's big news, in fact, not only that you are endorsing Beth Davidson for Congress, but I think this might continue to kind of kick the endorsement season into high gear as we move past the November 2025 elections. And the next stop on this train is November 2026.
There's going to be stops along the way. There'll be stops along the way. I'm sure there will be. Good ones and
Twists
bad ones.
in the
But
track.
we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
We're going to get there. Jeremy, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Talk soon. That was, again, Jeremy Saland. It's always wonderful to see him. It wasn't you never know what is going to come up. But I think we covered a fair amount of ground in a decent amount of time. I do think that the endorsement season is underway as our field of now 8 candidates is looking to set themselves apart. Not only in terms of fundraising, but the number of key endorsements they can get on, the number of people that they can bring into the fold, and we'll see how this field unfolds and ultimately starts to focus in the new year. And I do think, and I would put out there for your consideration, that it is important that the field focus. We have had a number of conversations with the candidates over the course of the past 6 months. And you've had the opportunity to meet a number of the candidates. The general public is not going to be able to differentiate between 8 candidates. And I think it's going to be really important for us to all really think strategically and carefully. And I would encourage you to continue over the course of the next 2 months to get to know the candidates and ultimately find out who are those we're going to decide between in a competitive bottom-up primary, the people's primary. In that spirit, we're at it again. I don't know why. My wife certainly does not know why. We are interviewing the candidates, but we didn't want to do a live stream again because that gets boring. So we are actually meeting them out in the field. These are completely candidate videotaped and interviews. I maintain editorial control throughout, and they'll be filmed in different parts of the district. This morning, technically late last night, I posted the full interview between myself and Kate Conley, a leading candidate for our congressional Democratic nomination, on YouTube and on Facebook. I posted a clip of it this morning. I'll post other clips throughout the week. It's a great interview. It really gives you a sense of who Kate is. At least that's my hope. And I hope you do engage. And if you do like what you see, check out her website, kateconley.com. Again, thank you all for tuning in to this unusual Sunday evening live stream. Again, I didn't anticipate it coming on, otherwise I would have shaved this morning. But in the meantime, thank you as always for the privilege of getting to talk to our candidates, talk to many of our local leaders, and represent you in these conversations. I hope to keep the conversation going. There's so much ground to cover as we look to take back New York 17's seat in 1 year. Talk to you soon, guys. Have a great Sunday.